And when I say the creative economy, this is not about the creative industries by itself. This is not about monetizing culture. This is around developing an overall sustainable approach to supporting culture, supporting creative talent, to connecting our institutions, our businesses, to supporting an approach where investment is something that's for the long term and not just for short term. In the 90s, in the early part of the last decade, we had a real rush for the prize in terms of developing the creative industry, developing the creative economy. Lots of mapping studies, lots of emergent policy making, lots of new infrastructure, physical infrastructure, digital infrastructure, organizational development, with lots of new thinking around how to support culture for the wider society, how to support cultural planning. We, of course, had the disruptive influence of digital technology that opened up possibilities for the cultural sector, but also introduced markets, introduced opportunities for culture to develop and to monetize its content, its ideas. What happened was a crisis. So what did we see? We saw a lot of this just fragment around us. A lot of this confidence just disappeared in front of us. We saw a withdrawal of the state. We saw a fragmentation of the things that are starting to come together: education, business support, infrastructure. We saw a fragmentation of the relationship between the arts and economy. And therefore we need to have, and we're having a process of rethink, renewal around the role of culture, the role of creativity, talent. Is it as inclusive as it should have been? When we restart, as we are going through this process of restarting, developing new policies, how do we ensure that if talent's the focus, that we make the most of the full breadth of talent, and not just talent that's segregated, but talent that comes together to create new ideas, new types of experience. Another point is, how do we ensure that if we're going to develop a sustainable approach to the creative economy, that it ensures that it's not just the big cities that benefit, it's not just the metropolises. The next policy development, that we develop local geographies of creative production, cultural development, which ensure that people can come together in those cities and have a choice whether they develop their business there or elsewhere, so that our cities are more appealing and more enabling for people to work here, work there. Secondly, what we need to get to grips with is the relationship between the traditional arts and cultural sector, the historically subsidised arts and cultural sector, and the more commercially facing creative industries sector. We need to find a stronger narrative for the interdependencies, the interrelationships between those different things. And critical to this is about building platforms and spaces for collaboration between those different elements. And we need a better, a more coherent argument as to the value of culture and the creative industries overall. This quote here suggests that there is this growing understanding of the role and the value of arts and culture in society, that the arts has got better over the years in demonstrating its value. Develop that intelligence with the sector, not for the sector. So co-creating data and intelligence with the sector, in the same way that Mark was talking about co-creating ideas, concepts, stories with the audience. We need to do that in the way we research and talk about the value of art, culture in society.